Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this, because today we're tackling one of the most universally fascinating topics on the planet, the psychology of money. I mean, we interact with money every single day, right? We stress about it, we work for it, we dream about it. Yet the actual mechanics of why some people manage to build incredible, lasting fortunes while others constantly struggle, well, it remains a total mystery to most. So today, we're going to unpack the exact mindset shifts that separate those who truly build wealth from those who, well, just spend it.
To really get to the heart of this, let's start with a quick thought experiment. I want you to picture two coworkers. They sit right next to each other at the exact same office, they hold the exact same job title, and every 2 weeks, they take home the exact same paycheck. Now, fast forward 10 or 15 years. One of these folks is constantly stressed out, drowning in credit card debt and living paycheck to paycheck. But the other one, they've built this massive safety net. They enjoy total peace of mind, and they're actively nearing complete financial freedom. So why do two people earning the exact same salary end up with completely different financial destinies? The answer isn't hidden in their paychecks. The secret lies entirely in how their minds operate.
Section 1. The Great Wealth Paradox.
For our entire lives, all through school and society, we're subtly taught that building a fortune is just a purely mathematical equation. We're told, just learn the formulas, balance the checkbook, run the spreadsheets, and do the math. But think about it. If building wealth was purely about intelligence and math, every accountant and math professor would be a multimillionaire. The reality is quite different. Building a fortune is actually a deeply psychological game. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is just how heavily it skews. We like to view ourselves as highly rational, logical creatures, especially when it comes to our hard-earned cash. But financial decision-making is overwhelmingly driven by emotion, taking up a massive 80% of the pie. That leaves just 20% to logic. When the stock market crashes, logic says to buy, but fear tells us to panic and sell. When we see a neighbor with a shiny new car, logic says we don't need one, but the desire for status pushes us right into the dealership. Fear, greed, status, and impulse. These are the true drivers behind the wheel of our financial lives.
Section 2. Emotion, ego, and money.
Understanding that our wallets are deeply tied to our feelings is absolutely the first step to mastering our money because, it's usually not the big, catastrophic decisions that ruin our financial lives. It's the quiet, everyday habits driven by our simple desire to feel successful. The most common and dangerous trap driven by our ego is known as lifestyle inflation. By definition, this is the very human tendency to automatically increase your spending at the exact same rate your income increases. It clearly shows why earning more money doesn't automatically mean you're creating more wealth. Look, if you get a $10,000 raise, but you immediately take on $10,000 in new lifestyle expenses, your net worth literally hasn't grown at all. You're just running faster on the exact same financial treadmill. And this perfectly illustrates how the trap actually works. The exact moment a bonus hits the bank account, we're tested. Suddenly, that perfectly functioning car feels a little too old, so we upgrade. The smartphone that works totally fine is traded in for the newest model. We stretch our budget to the absolute limit just to move into a bigger house. We convince ourselves that we've worked hard and, hey, we deserve it. But in reality, we're just trading away our future financial security for fleeting, immediate comforts.
Section 3. Escaping the comparison trap. But why is the urge to upgrade so overwhelmingly powerful? Why can't we just be happy with what we already have? Well, it's because we live in a world that actively monetizes our insecurities. Modern societal pressures have created this environment where detrimental financial habits aren't just common, they're actively encouraged. We're hardwired as humans to gauge our success by looking at the tribe around us. And today, that tribe is digital and it is highly curated. Social media creates a complete illusion of success. Every time you open an app, you're bombarded with highlight reels of luxury vacations, designer wardrobes, and 20-somethings posing in front of rented Lamborghinis. It makes everyday people feel deeply inadequate. This fake sense of success creates an intense, artificial pressure to keep up appearances. It essentially pushes people to swipe their credit cards to purchase things they simply don't need, just to prove to total strangers on the internet that they aren't falling behind.
We have to fundamentally contrast two very different ways of interacting with the world here. Buying to impress versus buying for value. When you buy to impress, you're basically feeding a bottomless pit. It's this incredibly harmful habit where you spend money you don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people you don't even know. On the flip side, the wealthy mindset makes strategic financial choices grounded in real long-term value. They ask, Does this bring durable joy and utility to my life? Or am I literally just buying it for the fancy logo?
Section 4. The power of patience. Okay, recognizing these traps is halfway to the finish line. But how did the truly wealthy handle these temptations differently than the average person? Because trust me, they feel the exact same temptations we all do. But they use a specific psychological defense mechanism: delayed gratification. This is, without a doubt, the ultimate superpower of the self-made wealthy. Delayed gratification is the conscious choice to sacrifice a short-term pleasure in order to secure a much greater long-term reward. It's the willpower to look at a pair of expensive shoes and say, no way, I'm going to take that $200 and put it into an investment account instead. They willingly endure a little bit of FOMO, fear of missing out today, so they never have to stress about money tomorrow.
The sheer necessity of this emotional discipline is perfectly captured by legendary investor Warren Buffett. He famously stated that the stock market is essentially a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. I mean, really think about how profound that is. The market doesn't care about your IQ, your college degree, or your background. It rewards those who have the psychological fortitude to wait, and it literally takes money away from those who act on impulse and emotion. Patience isn't just a virtue. In the world of money, it is highly profitable.
Section 5. Harnessing the compound effect. Let's move along and see how this dilts. Because when you combine patience with time, you unlock the ultimate engine for wealth creation. This progression visually demonstrates the incredible story of wealth better than any complicated mathematical formula ever could. In the first decade, it honestly feels slow. You're just forming small, consistent financial habits, saving a little bit every single month. But by the second decade, the growth suddenly accelerates because your money is now making its own money. By the third decade, those small initial habits have snowballed into massive wealth. You're entirely bypassing all the complicated maths and simply letting time do the heavy lifting for you.
This brings to mind the brilliant insights of financial author Morgan Housel. He notes that doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are and everything to do with how you behave. Successful compounding is entirely about enduring patience and just sticking to your long-term storyline. You don't need to find the next big crypto coin or the hottest tech stock. You just need to consistently save, invest in broad assets, and, this is absolutely crucial, refuse to interrupt the compounding process when you get bored or scared.
Section 6. The true wealth mindset.
At the end of the day, millionaires fundamentally view the world and their resources through a completely different lens compared to the average earner. You can summarize this entire difference by looking at the stark contrast between looking rich and actually being wealthy. Looking rich is loud. It's built on liabilities, flashy status symbols, huge car loans, and extreme impatience. Being wealthy, however, is often totally invisible. It is built on acquiring hidden assets, generating quiet cash flow, and practicing extreme patience. The millionaire next door is probably driving a 10-year-old reliable sedan, while the person drowning in debt is leasing a brand new luxury vehicle.
So the crucial point here is that if you want to shift your own trajectory, you must adopt the actionable steps of a true wealth mindset. Number 1, focus relentlessly on acquiring assets. Buy things that put money into your pocket, like investments or real estate, rather than liabilities that drain it. Number 2, prioritize steady, reliable cash flow over the pipe dream of a sudden lottery-style windfall. And number 3, make all your financial decisions through a long-term lens. Seriously, before you swipe, ask yourself, how is this purchase going to affect my life in 10 years?
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to anchor you emotionally to one final, deeply important concept. We often hear this phrase that money changes people. But the absolute truth, money merely acts as a magnifying glass for your character. It doesn't magically create your personality, it literally just amplifies who you already are. If you're a kind and generous person, having wealth will simply give you the resources to be incredibly generous on a much larger scale. But if you're insecure and driven by ego, well, wealth is just going to magnify those flaws for the whole world to see.
And that leaves us with this incredibly powerful thought. Money doesn't change who you are. It reveals who you are. Mastering your money isn't just about spreadsheets, bank accounts, or stock picks. It is a journey of mastering yourself, your ego, and your impulses. By stepping out of the comparison trap, practicing delayed gratification, and focusing on true value, you don't just build a fortune, you build a better version of yourself. So, as you move forward and start implementing these mindsets into your own life, I want you to ask yourself, when you finally achieve the wealth you desire, what exactly will your money reveal about you?